make a narrative as if like I'm scared of. I think Devin's a tremendous fighter. Do I think Devin Haney can beat me? Hell no. Hell no.
Yeah.
For me personally, I'm on a different level than everybody.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to boxing, because Devin, he's a boxer.
It's on him. You know what I mean? It's on him. He knows that he's going to get this fade sooner or later. So it's only a matter of time. Obviously, we can't go down. You know, we can't go down to 135. So, you know, he would have to come up. And, you know, he can get this work anytime he ready.
I see greatness, man. I see greatness. Shakur practically beat you with one hand, man. That jab, man. Most important hand you have, man. You know? And he looked good doing it, sharp. You know what I mean? Distance. He did everything, man.
The boxing world just exploded. Shakur Stevenson versus Devin Haney is happening at 140 pounds, and both fighters are talking like they've already won. But here's what nobody's telling you about this fight. This isn't just two undefeated champions going at it. This is about who controls the future of boxing's most stacked divisions, and the politics behind the scenes are absolutely wild. Shakur just accepted rehydration conditions that most fighters would never agree to, showing he's not just confident, he's borderline cocky about his chances. Meanwhile, Devin's camp is making demands that tell a completely different story about who really has the power in these negotiations.
All of these guys, if y'all want me to come to 147, I'm coming in with rehydration quality.
Devin Haney keeps saying this fight will happen, but listen to how he's saying it. There's desperation in his voice that wasn't there before. His team knows something the public doesn't. After that Ryan Garcia situation turned into a circus and Tank Davis keeps dodging everyone, Devin needs this fight more than he's letting on. His promotional deal depends on big names, and Shakur is one of the few elite fighters who can't duck him because of network politics. But here's the kicker. Devin's father Bill Haney just made it clear they won't come down and wait for anyone. That's not negotiation tactics, that's fear. They know Shakur gets stronger as the weight goes up, but they're betting their size advantage at 140 will be enough to neutralize his speed and technical skills.
Or still at 135. You can't, you know, say your name without saying Shakur to your female Tank, right? It just is what it is. Is that fight going to ever happen? Would it ever happen against you and Shakur?
100%, yeah. I think so. I think it.
You think Shakur will grow into whatever weight you're in?
I mean, we're all of us is close to the same size. You know, we're all growing together. We're all like, you know, getting bigger. Well, so, and it's only so many guys, like y'all said. It's only so many guys that we could make big money and people want to see the fights. Which even though I know that they making new guys, it's guys like Kermel, Abdullah, all these guys want to come up too. So eventually they gonna be there too. But yeah, no, I think that a fight with Shakur is very much possible. We tried to make it happen a while.
Now here's where it gets absolutely insane. Shakur's team is already planting seeds that Devin might pull out, claiming they'll make up excuses about Shakur avoiding the fight. Think about that for a second. Why would Shakur's camp be setting up that narrative unless they know something we don't? Sources close to the negotiations say Devin's team has been asking for ridiculous contract clauses, including specific rehydration limits that would favor Devin's natural size. But Shakur accepted them anyway. That's not bravery, that's calculated confidence. His sparring partners have been telling people for months that Shakur looks untouchable in the gym, even against bigger guys. And after what he did to Teofimo Lopez with basically one hand, you start to understand why he's not worried about giving up size.
Okay.
Devin Haney's probably, to me, I don't think it's hit its point yet, but I think in the next year or two, it'll hit a point where it's like the world is gonna demand, you know what I'm saying? I can see the trajectory feels like it could meet like that.
I would love this fight. But look, you gotta watch what you say with like, and this is not even Devin's fault, because Devin is very respectful of my game and I'm respectful of his game. He's a good fighter. But his fans will clip and twist and turn things into something that is not. So I try to be real careful on what I say.
True. This is guy Jay on
About-
Twitter. He a big Haney fan. He be always clipping and changing stuff, Jay.
Yeah, they gonna make a narrative as if like I'm scared of. I think Devin's a tremendous fighter. Do I think Devin Haney can beat me? Hell no.
But wait, it gets even crazier. Tim Bradley just said something that should terrify everyone in the 130 to 147 pound divisions. He thinks Shakur Stevenson has the potential to surpass Terrence Crawford in boxing history. Not match him, surpass him. Crawford is already on boxing's Mount Rushmore, a 5-weight world champion whose resume speaks for itself. But Bradley's argument isn't about titles or weight classes. It's about opportunity and timing. Crawford's career was held back by promotional politics and network wars. Fights with Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Errol Spence, and Sean Porter should have happened years earlier when they would have meant more. Crawford had to wait until he was past his absolute prime to get those big names, and by then, some of them were already fading too.
Try to outbox me. I'm the greatest boxer. How do you? So that's how I feel about the fight.
Yeah.
But it all got to make sense from a business standpoint. I don't like getting up here and negotiating against myself. And,
for sure.
But for me, I'm willing
But
to
do you
make the
see
fight
it as
happen.
it being that could, you know, like we always said, the Four Kings, even though you wasn't a part of it, the whole thing, the whole plot was like at the end of the road, there's gonna be 2 guys left standing, and that's the big fight. Do you see that as that's potentially what that could be?
I'm a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
Here's what makes Shakur's situation completely different and why Bradley might be right. Shakur is entering his prime right as the talent pool from 130 to 140 pounds is stacked with legitimate threats. Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis, Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia, Lamont Roach, Subriel Matias, the list goes on. These aren't aging former champions or prospects being fed to him. These are elite fighters in their primes, and the promotional barriers that destroyed Crawford's biggest opportunities simply don't exist anymore. Saudi money and crossover deals mean network exclusivity isn't the death sentence it used to be. Shakur has the skills to beat all these guys, but more importantly, he actually has the chance to fight them when it matters most.
Yeah, you know, if I can't get those fights next or it doesn't make sense for it to be next, I'll probably go to 140, test it out, see how I feel at the weight at 140, and then when the time is right, then, you know, I'll defend my belt at 135. We'll just see, though. I got to go back and talk with the team and see what makes the most sense. That's really...
Hold up, because there's something way bigger happening here that nobody's talking about. Remember when everyone was pushing the Four Kings 2 narrative? Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Teofimo Lopez, and Gervonta Davis were supposed to be the new Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, and Duran. But look what's actually happened. Garcia's career is in shambles after the drug test situation. Tank keeps pricing himself out of big fights and dealing with legal issues. Teofimo just got dominated by Shakur and looks lost at 140. Meanwhile, Devin is the only one still standing, but he's also the one who looks most vulnerable against Shakur's style. It's like Shakur is Wilfred Benitez from the original Four Kings era, the guy everyone overlooked who could actually beat all of them.
He didn't become undisputed, yet they didn't mention the franchise belt, which directly impacted Devin's career early on, right? And it seemed like, I was saying this on my live earlier, you tell me what you think about this, but it seems to me like there's a lot of people that have tried to block y'all ambition, right? Between you signed to the wrong company, you know, Loma not taking the Devin fight, Tio not taking the Devin fight, Rolly saying he just don't want to fight Devin. Do you see that? Like, how do you see that? You know, as far as like, people know you're ambitious, they know you want to be unified, they know you want to be undisputed, so they put all these obstacles up and they make it hard for you to achieve what you're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. I think it's been historic in the way that they've done.
And get this, the comparison to Benitez is perfect, and it should scare Devin's team. Benitez beat Roberto Duran when Duran was still considered unstoppable. He had the speed and boxing IQ to neutralize bigger, stronger fighters who everyone thought would overwhelm him. Duran struggled against most of the Four Kings because his aggressive style played right into their strengths. Leonard outboxed him, Hearns knocked him out, Hagler outclassed him completely. Only against Benitez did Duran look like he belonged in that elite company, and he still lost. Devin's aggressive, come-forward style is exactly what Shakur wants to see. All that size and strength means nothing if you can't hit your target, and Shakur's defensive skills make slick fighters like Teofimo look amateur.
We must keep our composure and our patience and understand that it's part of the process when you're that good. You know what I mean? We can't say it any other way. You know, they're running out of narratives. You know what I'm saying? And, it's what the people want to see. We don't never say, okay, well, this guy has done something wrong or he did bad business. So, we'll never do it. Obviously, when we go through negotiations and we spend time in there, whether it's put something together for Richard Hitchinson, for him to come back later and to say, I want that fight. Well, when we were trying to make the fight, we couldn't. You didn't want to negotiate. You went somewhere else. When we were negotiating with Shakur Stevenson, instead of him negotiating with us, he said that he's going to go somewhere.
Now listen to this part, because it explains everything about why this fight is happening now. Shakur just became a 4-weight world champion and 2-time linear champion. His resume building phase is basically over. He's proven he can dominate elite competition, even while injured like he did against Teofimo. But Devin is still trying to prove he belongs in that top tier after the Garcia controversy exposed some serious flaws in his game. Bernie from Thoughtboxer put it perfectly. If Shakur wants to cement his legacy, he needs to fight Devin while Devin is still in his prime. No excuses, no what-ifs, just pure skill versus skill when both guys are at their best.
I feel like Shakur, just like Crawford was with me, Shakur has the ability to pass Terrence Crawford. Listen up. Now, not in the sense of becoming 3-time undisputed and, going up to, that many weight classes. Not from that standpoint. He already has 4 weight classes. Crawford is a 5-weight division champion. But in the sense of having the opportunities that Crawford didn't have. Crawford would have been even bigger than what he is if the politics didn't play into the sport at the time. And now that, you have guys like Turki Al-Sheikh that is able to bridge that gap between promoters and, make these big fights happen.
But here's the kicker that changes everything. Bozieni's broke down exactly how Shakur dominated Teofimo, and it's terrifying for anyone who has to face him next. Shakur fought practically one-handed due to an injury and still made Teofimo look like an amateur. His jab was surgical, his distance control was perfect, and every single move was calculated to neutralize Teofimo's biggest strengths. Critics kept saying Shakur hadn't faced top competition, but against Lopez he didn't just win, he gave a masterclass in technical boxing. And here's what should worry Devin. Teofimo is naturally bigger and stronger than Shakur, just like Devin is. But size didn't matter because Shakur's boxing IQ is on a completely different level.
Turki was around when Crawford was on his climb. When Crawford couldn't get those big fights with like Thurman and Danny Garcia and Ugas and, he got it later with Sean Porter, but it was later. But imagine if Crawford was able to have that run and, Earl Spence, Danny Garcia, Ugas, Keith Thurman, the list goes on. If he would have had all those guys on his ledger, imagine how big Crawford would be. He would be even bigger than what he is today. Bigger than what he is today. So with that being said, with these fighters hovering around 135, these talented fighters, hovering around 135, 130, guys like, O'Shaquie Foster, like I mentioned, going to go up to 135. He's big enough to go to 130.
Even with his left hand compromised, Shakur never looked in danger for a single second. He threw that jab relentlessly and only used his left hand when absolutely necessary. Bozy pointed out that Shakur could have stopped Teofimo if he wanted to, but he was managing the fight smartly because of the injury. That's not just skill, that's championship-level ring intelligence. Philadelphia fans, some of the toughest critics in boxing, watched Shakur put on a clinic and had to respect what they were seeing. If you can dominate an elite fighter while hurt, what happens when you're healthy against someone whose style plays right into your strengths?
Haney going to concede to that? I doubt it. So there's a major obstacle in the way. But nonetheless, as you watch these two fighters fight, you can clearly see outside of cheating, they're more than likely not going to lose, right? With that said, Devin Haney immediately responds to Shakur. Shakur responds to Devin, right? Again, we had the initial 4 kings. It was Devin, Ryan, T.O., and Tank Davis, right? It was supposed to be the 4 Kings 2.0, from the Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearn, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto.
Here's what nobody wants to admit about this Shakur versus Devin fight. Both camps know exactly how it's going to go, and that's why the negotiations have been so intense. Shakur's technical mastery against Devin's size and aggression isn't a mystery. We've seen this movie before. The slick boxer with superior defensive skills and ring IQ beats the bigger, stronger pressure fighter who relies on physical advantages. Devin's team knows this, which is why they're demanding every possible edge in the contract. Shakur's team knows this too, which is why they're confident enough to accept conditions that would normally be deal breakers.
We had that 4 King era, but nobody mentions Wilfred Benitez. And the fact remains is Wilfred Benitez beat Roberto Duran as well. And Roberto Duran is 1-4 against those guys. He beat Sugar Ray Leonard the first time. Outside of that, Roberto Duran, he lost to he quit against Sugar Ray Leonard. He got knocked out brutally by Tommy Hearns. He got outboxed by Marvin Hagler and outclassed by Wilfred Benitez. Right? But he's overshadowing Wilfred Benitez. And I felt like these guys, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Tank, and T.O., overshadowed Shakur Stevenson. And now Shakur Stevenson has shined the light by dominating Teofimo Lopez.
The energy around this fight is electric because everyone can feel that we're watching something historic develop. This isn't just about 2 undefeated records. This is about who becomes the face of boxing's most talent-rich divisions and who gets left behind as a footnote. Every punch, every round, every tactical adjustment will be analyzed because the winner doesn't just get a belt. They get to define what elite boxing looks like for the next decade. Shakur's technical perfection meeting Devin's physical advantages creates the kind of stylistic clash that produces legendary performances, and both fighters know their entire legacy depends on what happens in those 12 rounds.
Fight, Conor Ben comes into the ring, they talk, have some words, but Shakur Stevenson said, I want to put that same rehydration clause you put on Chris Eubank. Tell me, what did you get out of that moment in the ring?
Well, I heard on the press conference where I think it was his manager said that, that was a clown move, but I think Shakur invited that, I don't even know if I would have said all that about Conor being right then, but I think he really wants that fight. He really wants the money for the fight. He been saying that. And now he came through victorious. I think he really wants that money for that fight. He wants the money for the fight.
So there you have it. Shakur Stevenson is about to prove he's not just the best fighter in the most stacked divisions in boxing. He's potentially the most complete boxer we've seen since the original 4 Kings era. Devin Haney is making his last stand to prove he belongs in that conversation. But everything about this fight setup favors the guy with superior skills over the guy with superior size. This isn't just about boxing anymore. This is about who controls the future of the sport, and whether technical mastery still beats physical advantages when both fighters are at their absolute peak. So here's my question for you. Drop it in the comments. Do you think Devin's size and power can overcome Shakur's technical superiority? Or are we about to watch another masterclass that establishes Shakur as the best pound-for-pound fighter in boxing? If this breakdown helped you understand why this fight is so much bigger than just 2 undefeated records, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell because this fight is going to reshape everything we thought we knew about modern boxing. I'll see you in the next one.
See fights, accomplishments, because now Shakur is a 4-weight world champion. Devin is a 3-weight world champion. Devin was undisputed, but now Shakur is a 2-time lineal champion. So he's a 2-time Ring Magazine winner. 2-time unified champion. If you want to add the ring, as far as with the WBO, he was unified at 130. So So he's a two-time unified champion, two-time lineal champion. Beat a guy like Teofimo Lopez, who rises to the occasion. Had a close fight with George Kambosos. You can make a claim that he was fighting out of frustration or out of emotion, and that was it. He was in his prime too, Josh Taylor seemed to be drained at 140. Not taking away from Devin, but he was already moving up to 47, they were saying. Lomachenko was a little older.
But hold on, I'm not done yet because there's something absolutely crucial we need to talk about that changes everything about this fight. The betting odds just shifted dramatically, and it's not because of what you think. Smart money is pouring in on Shakur, but it's not just because of his technical skills. Insiders know something about Devin's recent training camp that hasn't been made public yet. Multiple sources are saying Devin has been struggling with the same issues that plagued him against Ryan Garcia, specifically his inability to cut off the ring against elite movers. His sparring sessions have been frustrating his team because he keeps chasing shadows instead of boxing smart.
I see greatness, man. I see greatness. Shakur practically beat him with one hand, man. That jab, man. Most important hand you have, man. And he looked good doing it, sharp. You know what I mean? Distance. He did everything, man. He did everything right, man.
A lot of people thought it would be a tough fight because Teo's athletic, Teo's experienced, he's fought on a high level. Mm-hmm. And, they were critical of Shakur. He ain't fought nobody and this and that. Yeah. He made Teo look like everybody else. Made
him look like an amateur. He looked like an amateur. Yes.
Now, technically, what did you see? Right? Where did Teo go wrong in that fight?
Where he went wrong?
Yeah.
Fighting Shakur. That's where he went wrong. Fighting Shakur. I knew he just running his mouth. He just was talking, man. I knew that from the beginning, even the time when he talked.
Here's what's really wild about the timing of this fight. Shakur's promoter just confirmed they turned down bigger money fights to take this Devin fight now. Think about that strategy for a second. Why would you leave money on the table unless you know something? The answer is simple but brilliant. Shakur's team believes Devin is at his most vulnerable right now, mentally and physically. The Ryan Garcia situation didn't just expose flaws in Devin's game, it shattered his confidence in ways that aren't immediately obvious. Watch his recent interviews closely. The swagger is forced, the bravado sounds rehearsed, and he keeps overcompensating by talking about his size advantage. That's not the Devin Haney who dominated Regis Prograis.
Yeah, Shakur knows he could have got stoppage too, but Shakur hurt his left hand.
And speaking of Prograis, let's talk about what that fight actually revealed about Devin's ceiling as a fighter. Everyone praised Devin for a dominant performance, but Prograis was shot. He was coming off brutal wars, dealing with personal issues, and looked like he didn't even want to be in there. Devin beating a diminished Prograis isn't the same as beating a prime elite fighter, and his team knows it. That's why they've been so careful about opponent selection since then. They've been protecting Devin from the exact type of fighter that Shakur represents. Young, hungry, technically superior, and impossible to intimidate.
It was hurt. If you notice, he was using that jab a lot.
Yeah, jab and then the hook.
And he threw the left hand every now and then. Because I was screaming out. Everybody said they heard me in Philly.
Yo, we could hear you on the TV. Yo.
Yeah. That's my young buck. You know what I mean? And I was telling him, throw that straight left hand. Then I noticed when he did throw it, he wasn't throwing it real hard. You know what I mean?
Now here's where it gets absolutely insane. And this information is coming from gym sources who requested anonymity. Shakur has been working specifically on countering bigger fighters who try to lean on him and rough him up on the inside. His new strength and conditioning coach has him looking like a different fighter physically. The skinny kid who turned pro is now a legitimate 140-pound athlete who can match strength with anyone in the division. But here's the scary part for Devin's team. Shakur didn't sacrifice any of his speed or mobility to gain that strength. He's basically the same fighter technically, but now he can handle the physical aspects of moving up in weight without compromising his greatest assets.
Tackler, man. You know, he can't ask for nothing more, man. And with me, I don't care about what people say, man. They always want to talk about you and say, oh, he should have did this, should have did that. He did everything that he was supposed to do, and he did.
This is exactly what happened to Floyd Mayweather when he moved up from super featherweight to welterweight. Everyone thought bigger fighters would be able to rough him up and make it ugly, but Floyd's team prepared him perfectly for the physical demands of each new weight class. Shakur is following the same blueprint, but he's doing it against better opposition than Floyd faced at the same stage of his career. Devin represents the biggest, strongest, most physical challenge Shakur has faced, and if he passes this test convincingly, there's literally nobody left in these divisions who can challenge him.
That even remotely sparks my interest for Shakur Stevenson is this guy right here, Devin Haney. Look at them, they're the same size. Obviously, Devin's moved up to 147. Shakur demands a catch weight. We'll see if Devin goes for the bait, because I think Shakur Stevenson, there's no doubt about it, he has the skills to compete at 147 to be 5-weight division champion. I feel like that would be crazy.
But wait, there's another layer to this that's absolutely fascinating from a boxing politics standpoint. The Saudi investors who are throwing crazy money at boxing right now are watching this fight very closely. They want to identify the next face of boxing, the guy who can carry pay-per-view numbers and sell out arenas worldwide. Devin has the size and the look they typically prefer, but Shakur has the skills and the personality that actually moves needles. Early social media metrics show Shakur generates more engagement per post than Devin, despite Devin having more followers. That engagement rate is everything in today's boxing landscape, and it suggests Shakur has the kind of authentic fan base that translates to pay-per-view buys. Here's something that should terrify every other fighter in these divisions. Shakur's amateur background is finally starting to show its full value at the professional level. He had over 400 amateur fights and won multiple national championships. That experience against different styles, different body types, different strategies is invaluable when you're facing elite professional competition. Devin had a solid amateur career, but nothing close to that level of experience. When the fight gets into the championship rounds, and both guys are tired, that amateur experience becomes the difference between knowing what to do and hoping your natural ability carries you through. And let's be real about something else that nobody wants to discuss openly. The pressure on Devin in this fight is absolutely crushing, and it's not just about his undefeated record. His entire promotional deal, his marketability, his future earning potential, everything depends on beating Shakur convincingly. A close decision win isn't enough. He needs to prove he can handle elite technical boxers who don't respect his size advantage. Meanwhile, Shakur is fighting with house money. He's already accomplished more than most fighters dream of, and he's still just entering his prime. That difference in pressure situations has decided more big fights than people realize. The sparring reports coming out of both camps tell completely different stories, and experienced boxing observers know how to read between the lines. Devin's camp keeps emphasizing how great he looks, how sharp he is, how ready he is for war. But they're not talking specifics about his tactical adjustments or technical improvements. That's PR speak for, we hope his natural advantages are enough. Shakur's camp isn't saying much at all, which usually means they're confident about their preparation and don't need to convince anyone of anything. When Floyd's team went quiet before big fights, that's when opponents should have been most worried. Here's a prediction that's going to sound crazy but makes perfect sense when you break down the stylistics. Shakur is going to make Devin quit, not from a knockout, not from a referee stoppage, but from pure frustration and demoralization. Devin has never faced a fighter who could completely neutralize his physical advantages while making him look ordinary. When fighters realize they have no path to victory, when every round feels the same, when nothing they try works, that's when they start looking for a way out. Devin's corner might stop it between rounds to save him from further embarrassment, just like what happened to some great fighters when they faced superior technical boxers. The historical parallels are everywhere if you know where to look. This fight has the same energy as Leonard versus Hearns, Whitaker versus Chavez, Mayweather versus Corrales. The technical master against the physically gifted aggressor, with both fighters in their primes and everything on the line. Those fights didn't just determine winners and losers, they established legacies and changed the entire landscape of their divisions. Shakur versus Devin has that same potential to be a defining moment that we'll still be talking about decades from now. But here's what makes this era of boxing so special, and why this fight matters beyond just these two fighters. We're witnessing the emergence of a new generation that's more skilled, more athletic, and more professional than anything we've seen before. The training methods, the nutrition science, the mental preparation, everything has evolved. Shakur represents the absolute peak of that evolution. He combines old-school technical mastery with new-school athleticism and professionalism. Devin represents the old model of relying on physical gifts and hoping they're enough against elite opposition. The undercard for this fight is going to be absolutely stacked because promoters know this main event will deliver massive viewership numbers. Every young fighter in these weight classes wants to be associated with this event because they know it's going to establish the new hierarchy in boxing's most competitive divisions. The winner doesn't just get Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson's spot in the rankings. They get to be the measuring stick that every other elite fighter has to prove themselves against. And here's the final piece that ties everything together. Shakur's father and trainer has been saying for months that this is the fight they've been preparing for since Shakur turned professional. Not just tactically, but mentally and emotionally. They knew eventually Shakur would face a bigger, stronger fighter who everyone expected to give him problems. They've been building toward this moment, studying Devin's tendencies, understanding his psychological makeup, preparing for every possible scenario. That level of long-term planning and preparation usually beats natural talent and physical advantages when both fighters are elite level. So here's what's really at stake in this fight, and why boxing fans should be more excited than they've been in years. We're about to find out if technical perfection can still dominate in an era of athletic freaks and power punchers. We're going to see if boxing IQ matters more than physical advantages when both fighters are undefeated and desperate to prove they're the best. Most importantly, we're witnessing the coronation of boxing's next superstar, the fighter who's going to define what excellence looks like for the next decade. This isn't just Shakur versus Devin. This is the past meeting the future, and only one vision of boxing is walking out of that ring as the undisputed best fighter in the world.